It's fall. The geese are headed south, and it's time for you to hit the woods. So button things up, find where they hide, and pattern the deer you seek. Come into Cabela's Great Outdoor Days and save over 20% on Herter's Select Grade handgun ammo. Save $180 after mail-in rebate on Walther PPS M2 pistols with instant savings of $80. And get a Vortex Diamondback 3.5 to 10 by 50 V-Plex rifle scope, just $149.99. Shop in-store and at Cabela's.com.
Blog Talk Radio.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of my show, Sin's Chat Corner. This evening I have the utmost pleasure of being able to host Lisa Moreno Dickson, who is actually a founder of an organization by the name of Stop CAID now. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump into our interview, as Lisa has been kind enough to hold for me. Give me just 2 seconds here. Good evening, Lisa.
Hi, Cindy. How are you?
Hi. How are you, Lisa? I'm hoping that we don't keep you up too late here. I know you're probably exhausted from your day today with Brody.
It's okay. No, as a mom, I might be woken. He might wake up, so I might have to bounce him in between the interview. But
no, that's kind of what I figured. That's why I thought, okay, I'm going to try to be on the ball here and be very meticulous with my umpteen questions, and we're going to educate the audience and give them some awareness about your organization along with the disease.
That's perfect.
And hopefully
Thank
we
you.
can cover a lot of ground this evening, definitely. First off, I just want to start off by saying I have the utmost of respect and humility for you, and I'm so very honored to have you on my show. I wanted to start off by saying that first. Just to kind of delve right in, maybe you could kindly recap for us your journey from the birth of your son to obviously his eventual diagnosis of what I believe they refer to as Blau. Am I saying that correctly? Blau syndrome?
Correct. That's exactly right. It's atypical systemic Blau syndrome.
Okay.
So when Brody was born, I did have a feeling that there was something going on with him, but it wasn't until he was about 6 months old that he had his first surgery. And it went on from there, from him being in excruciating pain with rashes, high fevers. Definitely just something was going on that wasn't normal. And in my past employments, I ran a school. I knew what the common cold was. I knew what the diseases were, and it just wasn't fitting. And I could hardly put him down. You couldn't touch him at certain points, that the inflammation that I didn't know at that time was so inflamed that it would almost look like a sunburn on the outside, externally. We started with the biopsies that showed these non-caseating granulomas, and from there it was like, okay, we know he has a disease, we don't know what it is. And I called almost every pathologist from a hole in the wall. I didn't care if you came from the top hospital or you weren't known. It didn't matter to me. I wanted to understand what was going on and get a diagnosis for him, not to have the name, but to get a treatment and get him more comfortable, obviously. And it was about 19 and a half months with this journey, until we got a diagnosis. And I had been to the best hospitals and even, had the biopsies looked at by the AFIP, and they found silica in his granulomas, which means he is also prone to lymphoma, along with his disease and along with the medications. And I remember at that point, and people have heard me say this over and over again, but I clearly, there's moments that I can't clear from my mind, nor do I want to. But one was when I was at one of the hospitals holding Brody, and he was in such pain, and he was screaming. And I had, I think, 2 nurses and 3 doctors standing in front of me, and they were so upset, visually upset, and they could not help me. And I remember thinking to myself, this is it. I got to be more proactive, and nobody's going to be able to help me. And I kept thinking about that Denzel Washington movie, which is not the best thing to say, but not that I would have hurt anybody. Yes, and I got to tell you, not that I would ever harm anybody, but as a parent, and I want to say this to the audience. 1, thank you for listening, and 2, it's not that I want people to be in my shoes. I'm not asking for the awareness and for the funding so you can be in my shoes and understand what it is to live in that out of hospitals, or to know, how it's like not to take the pain away from your child, but just to truly understand, or try to understand and listen. And it's the hardest, I think, for a parent to not be able to, one, help your child when they're sick with just a normal cold. And you know how it is. I mean, just on a daily basis, we have the responsibilities of the day in and day out of our children. And if they get the common cold, to have them have an illness on top of that is heartening on a lot of the families that I help. But back to that, back to John Q. I used to imagine coming into the hospitals and putting my arms out going, please help my child. It's like, please somebody help my child. And, I had some incredidu doctors who wanted to help. And then I had some doctors who just didn't have the tools. And I would walk in and I'd be like, do you think outside the box? If they said no, thank you for your time, and I was done. I had my mission to get Brody diagnosed and helped. And when he was diagnosed with the help of the NIH and Children's Hospital of Philadelphia and the FIP and eventually the Cleveland Clinic, I realized that it took 19 and a half months to get this diagnosis. And I've told people over and over again, I didn't care if you called it Blau or peanut butter and jelly. I wanted to focus on the mechanism. And when I decided to do that, to shut off the mechanism of this inflammatory disease, is when I realized that I could help so many other children with these rare diseases and or an inflammatory disease. And that's when I developed CAID. And I sat at this rinky-dink laptop and never built a website, never ran a foundation, and just kept going and going and building. And I would call all these hospitals. They said, what can I do for you? And I said, I don't have the answer of what you can do for me. And I tell people all the time, it's more like you are listening to what I'm doing. You see the mission. You see what we need to do. You know what you can do. You know your talents. You come back and tell me how you can help. With the doctors that I'd call, I just wanted to introduce myself and let them know that I was here. And that's when I started with my projects. And the first project that I started with, which was a must, was the Hero Awards. These children, and I always want people to know, CAID is not one disease. It stands for Childhood Auto-Inflammatory Diseases. So I cover over 30 diseases. But I like people to look at it as like, okay, say CAID is the target. And I'm targeting CAID. I'm targeting that inflammatory process. But in the meantime, the residual effect is also helping other inflammatory diseases, such as diabetes, such as epilepsy, sarcoidosis, interstitial lung disease, Alzheimer's. I believe that autism, there's a link with autism and inflammation in the brain. And we're internationally known. We have Stop CAID Now International. We have an advocate in Sweden who just raised $6,000 for the foundation doing an event for Stop CAID Now. We have doctors in Italy, neurologists. And my first project, the Hero Awards, was to recognize the children. Like with many times, my goal was to be the voice for the doctors and the children. And I say the two because sometimes we get so focused on finding the cure that we forget the ones who are suffering day in and day out. And that wasn't going to happen. And I've gotten to, obviously I don't know all the families, but they know I'm there. And I'll get texts at 2 in the morning. I'll get calls, because I'm international too. I pick up the phone. I talk to them. They know how I feel. There's not one person who can ask for my help and I won't do it. I had an incident, and I know the mother would be okay with me saying, and I had posted on Facebook that one of the children had overdosed on pain meds. And when these children, if you don't understand the pain that inflammation causes, you can't until you feel it. And it's hard. It's heavy. It's painful. And as an infant or a child, that's all you know. Brody only knows pain. He takes over an adult dose of injections that he was taking daily, but now he takes one every 8 weeks. He's used to the pain. Then you get to that 6- and 7-year-olds who still listen to their parent. They know they have to take it. They don't like it. Then you get to the older children who are dealing with it, and to those who have chronic pain. And they get fed up, and they don't want to take it. So they want to ease the pain. And I'm pretty hard, and in the sense of very determined focus. It takes a lot to affect me. It has to be something real to affect me, and that affected me. I mean, I know that I'm going very fast and doing projects, but you can't go fast enough for these children. And for the children who have a chronic Crohn's, who are dealing with it in adulthood. And that's why my latest, and I know I'm probably jumping over the board because the foundation's done so much in the last 2 years, but when I started the foundation, I said my 5-year goal was to have a clinic for CAID, that all children could go to one remote place to get help. And I announced, a month ago, that we got it at the Cleveland Clinic. And I picked the Cleveland Clinic because, one, they have the CME there that is continuing medical education. That was my second project. So we have many doctors, from the oncologist to rheumatologist to cardiologist, ophthalmologist, ongoing, knowing about CAID, knowing how to help. And that's what these children need. And I picked them versus just a children's hospital because there are some who, eventually get into adulthood and need that, need the clinic as well. So with the Hero Awards that I had given to the children, that was, as I said, the first. I don't know if I made that clear, but the Hero Awards, they light up. I don't know if you've seen them. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I have. I personally, I'm guessing that the audience probably does not, but I know that I've seen glimpses.
The Hero Awards they're awards that I've sent all over the country, and they light up, and it says True Heroes. And I did this because I wanted the children to know somebody in the foundation was working really hard for them, along with their families. And those who are getting the daily shots or having to go to the hospitals and get their treatment, some of them would bring the awards with them. And some of them can't play sports anymore, or missing days of school. And it was my way to give back to them. The CME, the app was very important. We have our app, the Hero and Me book that I had written for the children and to educate the doctors as well as the families, and then the general public, and then obviously the perfume. So we've done a lot in this 2 years. I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for all the media that's allowed CAID now to get the word out. I mean, I've been very fortunate with that. And you and I had talked before.
About are on my list. They're all on my list. I have a running list of questions here. Oh, yeah. I'm trying to get to them. Lisa's just kind of covering them little by little here. That's okay. I wanted to
I have a hard time talking.
Well, I kind of didn't want to interrupt you there, but certainly all of those things are on my list, actually. I wanted to kind of tell the listening audience, of course, that Blouse syndrome, from a dictionary standpoint, is characterized as an inflammatory disorder which affects the skin, the joints, and the eyes. Might I be allowed to ask you maybe to share with us your everyday, both the struggles and the triumphs that are relative to Brody's illness? Can you kind of put us into your circle, show us, what's been going on?
Yeah. Well, anybody who's seen pictures of Brody, and I'm big on posting on Facebook and stuff. Both my boys, where my oldest has an undiagnosed possible CAID, their spirits are so alive. And if you don't know the disease at this point, you wouldn't really know that Brody had it, and which is kind of scary for me because what goes on inside his body is a whole different story. However, I took him to the beach for the first time. He's never seen the ocean, and I watched him kind of get more and more tired. His immune system is low with the disease, and his immune system is even lower with the treatment that he's on. Blouse syndrome, it's more complex than the average definition. Basically, it's painful inflammation, and it does deal with his organs and affects his organs, his nerves, and his brain. It can cause blindness. They have no real answers, and I'm pretty careful, especially on the radio show, because I don't know who's listening. You know,
certainly,
there's the doctors don't have the answer, and I know the top doctors have agreed with me. It's not, you know, there is no answer. So that's where I don't fear easily. We don't live our daily lives in fear, but there's definitely not that security, if that makes sense. There's not a security of knowing that when I take him out, or, you know, what's going on with his body. Sometimes I'll take, like, blueberries and put them in the dark spots of the carpet and just play games, because, you know, I don't want to bring too much attention to it, or, you know, he goes to the eye doctor every 3 months, but, you know, kind of just checking, because things can happen very, very quickly. You know, I drive to the Cleveland Clinic for Brody, and the 2-3 hours that he was doing my test, he developed a 108-degree temperature from being, you know, in a hospital. Hate to say it, hospital's the best place and worst place to be, especially when you have a low immune system. But our daily lives, to know me, we have so much happiness within that there's no crime, except for, you know, when Brody was getting his daily shots, I would say that it was very difficult. I'd have to sit on him pretty much to inject him, because he would get 2 injections. And it was the worst and best 5 minutes of our lives, because we knew it was helping to some degree. But to strap your child down and give him injections is not an easy thing. When he's in pain, you know, we'll dance. I posted that tonight. I mean, we do a lot of dancing. And it's not the wheels on the bus. I mean, I let them, you know, M&M was one of my sponsors, Marshall Mathers, and so I'm Not Afraid is one of our songs. And we'll dance, and we'll kind of try to shake it out. But he's not as in much pain. He's so used to pain, and, you know, he's 3, so you know, when he was younger, if you've seen pictures of Brody, he'd have, like, the Band-Aids, he'd put bandages on his body. His first word literally was boo-boo. And, you know, I didn't know if it was which one's worse, when he was little and he couldn't tell me where it hurts, or when he wakes up. Last night I was up pretty much all night bouncing him, or when he says, Mommy, pain, pain. You know, but it's still, with the treatment, better than how he was without treatment. One thing I will say is that I know that there's a treatment coming, that we have coming this year, that's going to help a lot of people, even with lupus. But day to day, it's unpredictable. That's the bottom line. I really can't make plans. Like, I'd love to. I don't really get to say, hey, okay, to my girlfriends and be like, hey, I'll meet you out, because I have no idea how Brody's going to be. No idea how Aiden's going to be. So we just live, and I just try to bring as much peace and happiness in their mental health while doing the best I can to make sure that I can help their physical as well as the children with CAID, because some of them with these diseases don't make it past 2. Some live with it, you know, a chronic illness to, you know, forever, and then like children like Brody, we have no prognosis. We don't know. So we don't live every day like it's our last in the sense of in a negative way, but I try to make sure that we live. And I try to also make sure that the families know, you know, I want them to live. I want them to know we're working really hard. We got some great stuff coming. I mean, it's only been 2 years, and we've really made, and I like to use the word touchdowns, because we really have. I have a great feeling about this year in 2013, you know, to shut off the inflammatory process. my passion, and my determination, I think, is pretty clear. And I'm devoted. And when I made that commitment to Brody, and I've told people before, I made it to everybody who is suffering from an auto-inflammatory disease, especially the children. So that was a long answer to your how's my daily life.
that is okay, fine. I want people to understand not only how you
like
function, how he functions, what it's like.
It's never he runs. It's not like he's the thing that people don't get is that not only I deal with the normal tantrums and the ups and downs of just if they didn't have a disease, now on top of them having their illness, and I'm living in and out of hospitals, and 1 minute I'm doing bone scans or biopsies, and the next minute I'm doing this. So it's not bad. Life is not bad. This is what we got, and this is how we're dealing with it. We bring Santa Claus in the house. I'm just careful with his immune system, but it's not saying that he lives in a bubble. But then there's that question whenever I say, oh shoot, let me just let him do it. It kind of sometimes kicks you in the butt.
Of course.
Because he gets sick after it.
It kind of makes me, it begs to ask the question. Now I'm curious, based upon the knowledge and experience of Brody's treating physicians, do you have some sort of maybe realistic, medical future? Have they predicted anything? Have they any inclination the path he's going to be taking? Can they tell you anything as it relates to the future and his medical condition?
This is probably going to be difficult for the audience to understand. When it comes to CAID, I have a good feeling for the children who, as I said, if you look on the website, I cover 30 diseases that are listed there, and, the residue effect with the other diseases. I'm confident that we have a great treatment coming out that will help in the 2013. For Brody, I don't have the answer for. Because it's so rare and attacks the organs in ways that they don't know, and I do have an incredible doctor who is well known, who is actually working on something for Blau syndrome. So I can know that that's going to be an effect. But when you don't have the answer to something, and doctors don't talk to me like a parent anymore. They talk to me as a doctor. Yeah. And so they're very clear with me. And it's interesting that the doctors that I've talked to overseas and in Italy, and we just brought on another doctor from Australia, another neurologist, they said I'm right on target. And I think it's because I'm very real. I'm very practical. And sometimes when you're less detailed and more practical, I don't know if this is going to make sense, it's clear cut. And it's why I do think that with even Alzheimer's and which they just came out with a great treatment, but with autism, the inflammation in the brain. Inflammation causes so much pain and damage to the system and nerves. So for Brody, I don't have an answer, but I'm confident that I'm not going to give up. I'll tell you that.
Of course, definitely. Good to hear. I wanted to ask if you could maybe share with the listening audience what sorts of mental challenges that you find that Brody suffers from due to his illness.
Mental? Brody's an old soul. Brody is a strong kid. I'd say that what we notice more is he gets tired very easily once his treatments are supposed to last once every 8 weeks. It's a pretty heavy dose, and now we've gone to one every 4 weeks, and we're even seeing that it's not even lasting that long. So you wind up seeing him tired. You wind up seeing him inflamed. His face gets puffier. I notice the symptoms more. He's very intelligent. He's very smart. He's beyond his years. It's more of the unknown. I don't think that in the sense of he's at 3, so sometimes he stutters, sometimes he does things that he's not at the age that I can clearly say has this disease affected his, academic abilities. But I would say that he's very intelligent. I'll tell you, when the treatment comes, he claps. He's so happy. Like, he knows it helps him. I mean, he gets it. So I would say that for Brody, it's more the pain. It's more, and until he gets older, until I was in his shoes, would I actually know exactly how he was feeling. But like, I can see him run. I can see him run differently. It's like my oldest son who has had pain in his legs so much that he will collapse. Where 1 minute I'm bouncing Brody and he's in pain, and Aiden's crying because his legs are in such pain, and the doctors aren't really sure what's that. So from both angles, I'm hearing their physical pain, and that's never easy. But their mental, both of them, they're doing well mentally at this point.
Okay, great.
I would say that the children I think that now, granted, mentally, if you think of psychologically, and I've brought on some therapists and workers for the foundation, it does get to their psyche. I would say that I'm sure if you've seen any pictures, Brody and Aiden are so close. I mean,
yes.
It brings my heart such a warmth to see them, and it also hurts. In a way, I'm sure maybe I hope it makes sense. It's such a joy to see their relationship, and it also hurts because they feel each other's pain, and I see that. When Brody was getting his shots and going through all this, and Mommy was at the hospital all the time, I mean, I would run back to see, like, Aiden's play and then run back to the hospital. I mean, it affects them. It affects the family. I also write for Parent Society blog. It's parentsociety.com, and I've written some articles on how, rare diseases or, chronic illness can affect the family. So there's impact on that way mentally for a lot of the families that deal with any sort of illness, but what I know clearly is the families of CAID.
Okay. Another question for you. I'm wondering if we looked at this for a moment from strictly Brody's perspective. How do you think as far as his drive and attitude in the regard of coping with this syndrome, as well as attempting to not conquer it necessarily, but just get a handle on it? If we were to look strictly from his perspective, how do you feel? How do you think he would approach this? What would he be saying about himself? Is he discouraged? Where is he at with all this?
I think that they both have one parent. They have a parent who it's like one time I took Aiden ice skating, and it's the good and the bad. I mean, I don't want people to think that there's a difference between being strong and feeling. I mean, there's a nice balance, and I think they've seen Mommy, and Aiden would fall, and he kept getting back up. He'd finally be, Aiden, come on, let's give your legs a rest. No, I can do it. I can do it, Mom. I can do it. It's like when he broke his arm, he's like, Mom, how am I going to, he broke his wrist 2 weeks ago. It's like, oh, my God, something normal, even though, of course, we don't want it. But he says, how am I going to write? I said, your brain's going to get stronger. And he's like, how? And I said, because you're going to learn ways to use your other arm, and you're going to be creative. I think that Brody would say this sucks. I mean, I know it's not. I know it's not. It's not an easy life for him. It's not. It's not. It's not an easy life for Aiden. But I think he'd say, honestly, I mean, if it wasn't for Brody, and I would say CAID wouldn't be here. I mean, we wouldn't have a clinic. We wouldn't have the app. We wouldn't have all these things that are able to help all these children. And knowing Brody's spirit, and I think that when he's older, I think he'd be proud that he was able to help all these people. But for him personally, I mean, it's really hard to answer that question since he's 3. But
sure.
I would say he would say that it's a joyful life and a hard life at the same time, and it's just being able to use what he's got.
Gotcha. Okay. I know that you had talked about earlier as far as kind of getting into a bit of Brody's therapy sessions. I'm curious to ask you, do you find that his pain level is particularly high most of the time, and are you able to provide him with ample remedies?
I'm not. Well, you know, the treatment that he takes, the injections, is pretty much all he gets. Unless he's having even a more flare, I'll try to give him that on top of maybe Motrin, something that can lessen his pains. I think his tolerance is pretty high. He's very strong. I do believe, and the doctors had said to me one time, like, oh, you should run with that. And I'm like, give me a couple of years. But I do believe that these interleukin-1s, which are found in these injections, it stimulates the growth hormone. It's not a known steroid. It's not like you look at the back of an ingredient of a milk carton and you see steroid. But when anything stimulates the growth hormone, and it produces the cortisone. So it acts as a steroid, plain and simple. So Brody, you know, he's pretty strong. I mean, he's my little linebacker. So he, as I said, I think that his pain tolerance is pretty high, but I think he just deals with it. When all you know is pain, that's what, you know, it's what you got. Women who have, you know, at their last month of pregnancy or last week of pregnancy, when they say, my God, you know, it feels like a rubber band's around my leg, or, you know, the pain of the inflammation, or I can't open it. I mean, that's about 20% of what these children feel. You know, 20% less than what they, you know, that a lot of these children feel. And there are different symptoms. The 30 diseases, some of them overlap one another, but they can have all different symptoms, but it's the mechanism of what I want to shut off. So remedies, no. And when people ask me, and I'm careful, I will never recommend a drug. I will never recommend a food. And the reason why, and people say, but you're the president of the, you know, you're the founder. Exactly. And it's not because of liability. It's not because I feel somebody will come back to me. It's because of knowledge. It's because you and I could have lupus in different degrees. It's not just these diseases have overlapping of other diseases or symptoms. It would be hard for me to say that one thing was going to work for everybody before trial and error. With foods, I'm sure foods can help in inflammatory process. I'm absolutely sure it could alleviate some, but it can exacerbate it if it's given. But do I think it's a cure? I haven't seen it. I've tried Brody on different things, took them off. You know, it's funny because what we're noticing now, and if any of the audience that's listening is a part of the CAID family, we are looking into and finding out that some of the CAID children have an allergic reaction to certain dyes, like the red dye or the yellow dye, which is interesting. But you know, I think to answer your question, that you know, Brody's only known pain, so I think it's definitely has lessened with the treatment that he's been given, but, you know, he'll say boo-boo, you know, with his arms to his legs, you know, and it depends. Like one night I can be up all night or up every 2 to 3 hours with him kicking and screaming in pain, and then I bounce him. And when I say bounce, everybody is like, what do you mean when you bounce Brody? Well, for 19 and a half months, first of all, I pretty much could not put Brody down because I was his medicine, the smell of me, everything. And bouncing, I'd sit on the exercise ball, which is, you know, the big exercise ball, and I'd bounce him, hold him. And I used to, when I started the foundation, hold one arm under his neck, bounce him, and then type with the other arm. And that's how I lived. And people say, oh, you must work out. No, it was Brody. That's how I got my guns from Brody. My trick, yeah. So, I mean,
gotcha.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's a serious, I think what I want to make sure that everybody hears is, you know, one is I'm grateful for the awareness. And when I started this, awareness was not my main goal because, and this might come across as interesting, but to make my neighbor aware of it wasn't going to get a cure. So I aimed for the doctors and the families first. Now that the doctors have the tools to educate themselves with the CME and the clinic and the book, and the families are comfortable in the sense of knowing where we're going. They have, you know, the clinic, they have the app, they have the book, they have their award. Then it's getting the awareness more out there and being able to touch other people. It's like when I posted about the perfumes, they're like, do you have a perfume? I mean, and then when people say, you're the first foundation to have a perfume, I don't even realize I'm so in the moment and doing what I'm doing that sometimes it's hard to realize what's been done. But, and then when I'm out and about, people are like, what are you wearing? I'm like, Lisa CAID. And it sounds so great to say it because then I'm able to, and exactly why I developed it, was to be able to spread the awareness and say, Lisa CAID, and talk about the foundation, knowing 100% goes back to the projects, which is, you know, I was very adamant. You know, it doesn't take away from other foundations, but I never, when people say, oh, can you donate $5 here, $10, I was like, well, where's it going? Is it going to overhead? Is it going to, where's it going? That's why everybody who donates gets a thank you letter, and I tell them where their money's gone. Even at the Cleveland Clinic, it's giving.ccf.org/Stop CAID. Now, when you type that in, the Cleveland Clinic, I mean, I'm a 501c3, obviously they are, and you get a thank you letter from them knowing that your money is helping build and grow this clinic. With the Hero book that people helped, you know, fund, that went there. I mean, so everybody knows where the money's going to. And also, you know, we need the funding. So I didn't want to get 10% of a product because we needed 100%. Not to say that one penny doesn't make a difference, because it does. But I just knew that I needed a product that was different. I'm very outside the box and have to be. And, you know, I want to be able to give our society something different and that they would like, at the same time knowing that they're truly helping make a difference in these children's lives, because that's key. And so, I mean, there's so many other foundations out there, and I help them too. I mean, I will tell you, I have some events coming up, and one of the events coming up on September 22nd, Vaughn Alexandria is doing the epilepsy walk for the Philly Fashion Week, and we're a sponsor because epilepsy is actually one of the, you know, it is an inflammatory disease. And so I do give, you know, and I'm sure this is, or maybe you and I have talked about, you know, competition, and people know how I feel about that. I don't compete with anybody, and I actually try to bring more togetherness than separate. I've told people you can take a horse to a pail of water, but you can't make them drink it. So I'm even going to be doing an event with Kisses for Kyle with Sharon, who lost her son to cancer. Long-term inflammation does cause cancer. I help with lymphoma. And, you know, do an event together, something low-key like a beer fest or something, and bring that awareness. And, you know, if people want to donate to her cause, okay. They want to donate to Stop CAID now, okay. It's spreading that awareness. It's coming together because
it's working together.
The more it is working together, and the more I see competition within these foundations, the more I realize how much they've lost focus. And all my CAID families, they know without a doubt, I will get to where we need to go. I'm not concerned with that, but I am definitely not going to do it in a way that that you know is with blinders onto other people, you know,
of course,
coming together.
All the more reason to love you. That's all I can say. For the listening audience, I wanted to just take a moment to basically talk about auto-inflammatory disease. It actually occurs when the immune system attacks the body's tissues and triggers an actual increased inflammation. As I understand it, they're, of course, very rare in nature. Some of the symptoms, again, such as fever, rash, and joint swells. I'm kind of curious because I know you had made the comment earlier. You personally, do you feel in any capacity that diet can perhaps assist in some ways as it relates to comfort for the individuals who suffer from these diseases, meaning trying or attempting, not necessarily advocating, but just attempting to utilize some of them?
I think that everything in this world is a balance. I think that it depends on the individual. Brody, I tried on like the celiac diet kind of thing, or, you know, taking dairy. There's certain things, he's allergic to eggs. So, like, there's certain things that would be normally healthy for one individual or somebody with an auto-inflammatory disease. It says that, you know, it helps I mean, I'm allergic to green tea, which is a very, you know, wonderful, known, you know, it's not that I have something, but I mean, like, I could never recommend. I say try, you know, as long as it's not going to hurt. But just because it says natural doesn't mean that it means it's or organic, and it means that it's the best. You know, these drugs, I will say, because I haven't said what it is, so I can clearly say to you, I am everybody who knows what I give to Brody knows that I am not comfortable with it, but it's what I got. If you think that injecting my son with a drug that's off-label or that is, you know, Brody's one of the youngest. He was, 1.5 years old, taking the first off-label drug, you know, and his shot now, I think, is $17,000 a shot. I mean, it's incredible. I'm not comfortable with these drugs. They do cause lymphoma. They're these diseases on a whole with long-term inflammation causes, you know, certain cancers. So I'm not comfortable with it. So I've definitely tried, you know, foods. And to answer your question, as I said before, I think that it could exacerbate. There are certain foods that make, I think, Brody flare a little bit more. But does it take away his flares? No. I think that it increases him not feeling well. And just like he's prone to Crohn's disease, I think that, you know, with his intestines, with a lot of the granulomas in his intestines, non-caseating, that I have to watch his diet. You know, one day you can look, I mean, his belly can get so big and hard and extended. I mean, it's painful to look at him, his arm, you know, and he'll hold his arms. So I would say that, like all things, I mean, even with when people ask me about genetics or, you know, it's the environment, which is a big question. And I know for a fact there was twins who had lupus, systemic lupus. One was in the East Coast, one was in the West Coast. One developed full-blown, you know, the systemic and, you know, did really bad. And it was, you know, more known as environmental. But then there's other cases that don't prove that. And people sometimes ask me for brochures and stuff, and I really I would hope to see others agreed in the sense that with the website and with the app, very educational. The reason why I didn't do brochures, and not to say those who do it are in the wrong, but medicine changes. I mean, it's almost like a diet. I mean, one day eat bananas and you lose 12 pounds, and the other is like I mean, something's coming anew all the time. So I would be the last one to recommend. I can say that, Just like when people want to lose weight, they say, oh, cut out all carbs, oh, cut this. I say, look at your body like a car. If you took out all the oil, how are you going to run? Everything in moderation is fine. With these kids and the diseases and with auto-inflammatory diseases, there are some products or foods that I feel that could probably ease and help depending on the degree of the disease, depending on what the child has. Sometimes it can be more harmful. I know that Brody, when he gets the IVs for the CT scan dyes, the pain going in through his veins, you would think that the nurses were murdering him. And they're like, oh, he's just scared. I'm like, no, you don't get it. It's the iodine. It reacts to him. People don't have all the answers, and they don't realize that some of the things that are put into our body that we normally don't think would harm do if your body is immune suppressed.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay, I would like to ask this question for you. I'm feeling like I'm getting an education, which is very exciting for me and should be for the audience, only because I'm so very blessed to have children. You know, they have asthma or they have had minute conditions. This is something that's way out of the realm of that, and so to gain knowledge and awareness.
Well, asthma can be pretty serious too. So
definitely
anything.
Yeah, anything I think just undoubtedly that affects our children in such a fashion to where you were saying, where you watch them suffer and there's nothing you can do, is clearly paralyzing and frustrating and terrifying. And so I'm just kind of listening in awe, to be honest with you. It's an amazing story, let me tell you.
You're a sweetheart.
Of course. Yeah. Now, obviously, by anyone listening to listening to all of this, clearly, I would say in large part due to your child's ailment, of course, you opted to formulate your organization, which is, of course, entitled Stop CAID Now, which is in 2011. Could I ask you to provide to the audience basically what your mission statement is all about and what, at this point, is your highest priority for your organization?
Mission statement. Which one?
Well, I know there's that blanket one, which usually talks about education and awareness and raising funds, etc. It's usually something along those lines. But if I were to ask Lisa, what's your mission every day, all year round?
My mission for CAID all year round. God, I think about hugging those kids. I think about the thing is that, believe it or not, my mission, my 5-year goal was the clinic, and we got it. So now my mission is to make sure that everybody knows that CAID is not one disease, to really get knowledge and educated on what we're doing, because it is the first foundation to cover all these diseases. And it's not to say the first for a pat on the back. It's the first to say that, look how many diseases we're trying to help and all these children that we're trying to help and those who become, into adulthood. I do know that I am part of the Global Genes Project and with the rare disease community. And I know that in about 2 years I'm looking to have shut down Hershey Park and have a day where all kids can just be kids, and bring the rare disease community there, sponsored by Stop CAID Now. My mission, education. Well, CME, continue medical education. All doctors have to get educated, keep up their credits. They get their CME on CAIDology at the Cleveland Clinic. We developed that. Getting it, the app. The app, I got to tell you, if you knew how many families have called me, being at the hospital, can you talk to the doctor? Can you talk to the principal? I was in the hospital with, I can't remember. I've been in the hospital so many times this past 2 months with Brody or Aiden. Now I can't even think about it. And the parent was in the hospital at the same time I was, and I was talking to their doctor and trying to and then I told them about the app. So they downloaded the app, and the app was able to tell the doctors, other list of doctors who are doing research or know about it. It's linked to GeneDx, so they get the genes, they get the pictures. they get the education on it. So and it's what I've told the doctors, listen, I get it. You know, there's very few doctors who do specialize in auto-inflammatory diseases, and the ones that are, I know a lot of them, and they're wonderful. But they're people. That's what people don't get. You know, it's why people, I laugh at that whole celebrity thing. Like, oh, they eat, I've said this so many times because I get a kick out of it. And they eat popcorn like you do. Well, really, because they're human. And so are these doctors. They're going to make mistakes. That's why you have to be on the ball as a parent. They have their daily lives. I don't know where they got their education. They're people. So one of my biggest things was the disappointment in a child. Aiden's heard it, my oldest. We went to the doctors. The doctor goes, I know he has a disease. I don't know what it is. I'm like, you said that in front of my child. I said, okay, so this is what I pictured, and this is like the analogy I always think of, is that here comes the fireman. Oh, I see your house is on fire, and turns around and leaves because I can't put out the fire. Well, these kids look at doctors. They look at your teachers. They look at your parents, and they look at us as we're heroes, but we're also human and don't have all the answers. So the education was key to me, and these three things were key for me to get for the book that I wrote, and the CME and the app, and now with the clinic. One thing that maybe, hopefully I'll be back on your show, I have patented something that's hopefully coming out in the year, and it will help everybody in the world. And I will say I'm extremely excited about it. And when people hear what it is, it was developed by listening, really listening, and that's what I do. I wanted to, turn every stone over of what would affect the children, the parents, the families, and the doctors. And slowly and surely we've done that. So right now, this day on, and actually since I announced the clinic, every project I do, all the money's coming in are going towards this treatment we have coming out in February, the treatment for the next year, and also the clinic. So they're helping support these three projects. So right now it's raising funds for these to be, even more successful.
Gotcha. Wonderful. I'm so excited. Whew. Okay. Now I want to toot your horn for a second, like I haven't already, but let's toot her horn for a second. For those of you who don't know, obviously Lisa is the CEO and founder of Stop CAID now. She also does serve on the advisory board for the Global Genes Research Fund. Now, as I understand it, your organization's medical board embodies a total of 5 medical physicians, and your advisory board hosts just a potpourri of various individuals stemming from sports figures to
I would have loved to list them all.
I know. It's quite extensive, actually. I'm curious as to how your organization goes about its screening process to determine one's eventual affiliation with your charity.
That's a good question. When I started the organization, it's almost trial and error. I used to run a school, and I used to tell people that, and I've used this before, it's like, I'm not going to ask anybody to do anything that I wouldn't do. And if the people who have sat on our board and who are on our board right now, I got to say, heart of gold. And I'm a pretty good judge of character, and they're not paid. I don't have overhead. So they're doing this out of the kindness of understanding of what CAID is and how it affects these children. So the screening, I would say I've gotten to know a lot of them on a personal level. And then the doctors who are overseas, or the doctors, they send me their application. We review them and then are basically, they're screened in that sense. But they're never like, it's not like you're working at the school where they should be, fingerprinted in the sense of they're going to be working, hand in hand with the children. But they are well-known doctors, and they're the doctors that are on board, and I've seen their credentials and such. And most people know, like my spokesperson, I don't think I really need to screen him. He's, Michael Quick, the former Philadelphia Eagles. play for the Philadelphia Eagles. And we just got a new voice for the children, who is Lorene Detroit. So she's wonderful. And the board goes on and on. I mean, Judy Goss just got on, and she runs Over 40 Females. I mean, Craig Robinson is our legal advisor he was on The Bachelor. Thank God I now have an assistant who what I did not have, and I'll tell you, the joy in having an assistant is wonderful. I didn't think you don't think you need one until you have one. So Jessica,
oh, tell me, I know I need one. I just don't have one. Yeah. I can relate. I don't have one yet. Yeah. I am anxiously waiting.
She's wonderful. I mean, you know, everybody on the board. And please go to the website, www.stopcaidnow.org, and look at the advisory board. I mean, the supporters go on, and the board members are all great. We just brought on the psychologist for chronic pain, who's Dr. John Sorrell from California, Shelley Lashley, who's now. One thing I will tell you, Lisa Ling has done something for us, and she's a great supporter. Barrett Brooks and I are about. He's was the Super Bowl champion for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He and I are about to do a commercial together and talk about CAID, and also an event that we're going to be doing in the near future. But yeah, I would say that the board members that I have right now are wonderful. As I said, they're doing this out of the kindness of understanding and wanting to help. And it's like I tell people, like, I don't care if you're a celebrity, well-known or not. It's amazing to be real and to have a good heart, and to, you know, I sometimes am dumbfounded by the level of support. Just even with you, even I got to tell you, even having me on the radio, this is such awareness. There's been Downtown Magazine, The Salon Guy, Let's Talk Magazine, Philly Chit Chat, Chance TV, Over 40 Females, Not So Soccer Mom, At Home with Victoria, Fox 5, Morning with Bill, Selective Eye Groups. I mean, I've had so much media attention that it's really nice. Not as the president and founder of Stop CAID Now, as a mom. I mean, because this is, you know, and maybe I don't go there often, but it is. It's if you knew me during that 19 and a half months, it was just such a different story. It was just what I call a horrific, and I know that sounds very negative, but it was a horrific time. So to see that it wasn't even 2 years ago, and where we're at now, and the people who've wanted to help and reach out is incredible, and that I'm so grateful. You know.
Gotcha. Sure. Now, I wanted to talk about that, actually. That kind of lends itself to my next set of questions here. Obviously, standard to any other charity organization, I know that we have a different, just a various potpourri of ways to donate. Now, I was going to mention each one of these, and perhaps if you kind of elaborate on each of them, obviously, like any other charity, certainly any individual can go to your website and donate your organization directly online. Obviously, as you had mentioned before, the two new things, which is, I believe it's CAID. Am I pronouncing that correctly, which would be the perfume that we were discussing earlier?
CAID means the end of CAID.
Gotcha. And 100% of the profits are benefiting to research or to your organization, as I understand it. Which is it?
It depends. Like, when you buy the perfume, I send you a thank you letter that tells you which project it's going in. Now, when you go on the website and you leave a comment, some people can say, okay, I'm donating, and then they'll say, I'd like this to go to, you know, Project 3 or Project 2 or Project 1. Which is listed on the website. So you can be specific. I mean, it's your money. You can help how you want to help. And then you get that it's 100% tax deductible. So, you know, that you know where your money's going to. And, yes, it does not go to overhead. It does not go to making the product again.
Okay. Now, I noticed, as you had mentioned previously as well, I'm curious where the ingenuity came behind the development of the storybook. Tell us a little bit more about what the book entails. How do we get something like that? How do we get it? Where do we find it?
So everything that you would want, the T-shirts, the the book or the perfume, is online, is on the website. However, the perfume is also sold at the 5-star hotel resort, Nemacolin Resorts. Also, somebody has just asked to bring it to different boutiques here around in the Philadelphia area. I was actually blown away because it was listed as one of the top must-have products in 2012, which blew my mind. I mean, it is a great, I've been waiting for somebody to be like, well, yeah, it's nice. I mean, literally get so many compliments on it. It's wonderful. For the book, the storybook, I'd love to get into more schools. I've written a lot of schools. I've had to write to colleges. I've had to get more awareness there with the professors and those who've never heard of some of the even ones that you and I have heard of to get educated on it. And the book is designed to with the way that it's very whimsical, so the pictures are nice. Yeah, Brody and Aiden will listen to it, but it's all in presentation. I said this before, you can be like, and the dog walked down the street, and they'd be like, all right. Maybe you go, and then the dog walked down the street, and they're like, oh, really, So, everything is in presentation. So, you can read it to different age levels, and then you can also educate the doctors and in the medical field, and you can get it online. It came about, I actually had help with the book with not the idea. I had approached somebody about it, and they said it was their dream, and I said, well, why don't you come on with me? That kind of fell through, but the reason behind the book is because Aiden kept asking if Brody was going to die, and I have no answer. I don't say things that are inappropriate or not age appropriate, but I also don't lie, and I don't have the answer. When Brody was diagnosed, I made 2 bodies. We laid down almost like making angels and marked them out, and then I made non-caseating granulomas and said, this is your body, and this is Brody, this is how this works, and this is how this works. So doing this, realizing it, I knew that there was such a need for children to understand that they're not alone, those with the disease, and then for the siblings to know, hey, your brother, your sister, they're not alone, and you're not alone in feeling this way. So that's why the book was developed.
Gotcha. And then the other thing I wanted to mention, of course, being the Shots for Tots. If you could maybe chat about that just a little bit and let people know what Shots for Tots is.
Well, in the Not So Soccer Mom that everybody keeps seeing, it's so funny. God love her. She also does the Not So Soccer Mom. The Shots for Tots is it's a collective of glassware, and they're giving it to restaurants and pubs and retail outlets. And they're giving a portion of the profits to the charities, and we happen to be one of the 4 charities chosen, which is amazing. And, I am so touched by when supposedly I had inspired people to do things, and that's awesome. To know that, I was a part of this in the sense that I guess helped with the idea to give to charity, and the Shots for Tots has just been announced, and I'm thrilled. I think it's great that they're going to have these glassware to help the charities. And it's shotsfortots.com.
Shots for Tots.
I was just looking at it right now.
Website. Yes.
Yeah, and it's shots,
I
and then I guess
earlier today.
And it's shots, and then it's the number 4, tots.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Now, I had wanted to address this issue earlier this evening because obviously if individuals were to approach you now or at some given point in time about the potential of hosting a fundraiser for your organization, do they have the potential to do that? And if so, what would they need to do?
When they call, when they get, they can either email And then usually it goes through a process where I will share it with the board, and we'll go through and we'll see, the details of the event and where they're going. And the thing to me is, and to the board, of course, is going to be legitimate. I've seen a lot since starting the foundation, and the one thing people can guarantee is that I need things to be legitimate, and then it's a go. And we make sure that it is. If our name is on it, to me, that's the children. So it's never Lisa Moreno Dickinson, it's the children. So if there's anything that we're doing, I make sure that it's legitimate. And having that, I will tell you that there's Rebecca Taylor, Stop CAID Now, over 40 females is doing an event in November, and they approached me and told me that they were doing it, and I was like, wow. I mean, where Stop CAID Now is coming about to is that people are now doing fundraisers for us, and that blows my mind, since we were doing so much on our own, to have people actually doing events, and then they send us money and tell us, like, there's been high schools that have, maybe raised a couple of $100, which is amazing, and that these kids want to give, or they do a lemonade stand, they do anything, and they send us a check and say what they've done, or they'll, post a picture, or, it's nice. So to answer your question, they would send, if you're interested in doing a fundraiser for Stop CAID Now, which would be lovely, is to send an email and then a package of what, details of what you're looking to do. And then I help support in any way that I can, and we help support them in any way we can. Just like the epilepsy walk for Philly Fashion Week. I'm very much involved with it now to support and help, and they look to want to help the foundation too. So.
Okay. So that handles that part of it. Now, that kind of begs my next question, obviously, because the last time we actually tried to get this interview done, I know that you were right in the crux of doing your celebrity bull riding tournament. So I was kind of curious on both levels. On the one side, the tournament on the one side of the fence, and I know you did earlier in the year the gala 2012.
Right.
So how did we do?
We never do bad. Never do bad. I don't look at things like that. I look at things like, I think the one difference is that I don't have expectations. My goal is to make sure that my message is addressed, and that the message for Stop CAID and what the board members are a part of, get the message across, and that was completed. The people who were there, they had such fun. It was so great. It was a good time. It really was. I was able to announce the clinic, which actually we had the first commercial on television by Selective Eyes Media Group, and I was there at the Bucking for a Cure. So my message got across. I made a lot of contacts, and the riders who I'm still connected with, bless their heart. They got up on that bull, and that's where I got La Renee. It's one of the most powerful voice, beautiful voice. I don't know if you know Kem, the singer, Kem, but she's one of his singers, and that's her boss. And her voice is powerful, and she's just beautiful inside and out. And she's like, there's not many people that could get her on a bull, and she got on the bull. And Barbie Marshall, who was on Hell's Kitchen, she came, and now she's actually on our committee, and she won the bull ride. So it was a success because the people who were there really cared, and they listened, and the message was across. Where it wasn't, there was a couple of hiccups, and that's okay. You either learn from it. It's okay. I think the more and more that Stop CAID Now does events or gets the word out and gets into the media, the more people will be aware of it, and maybe we'll have even a better turnout for the next year. We're going to do it every year. So to answer your question, it was a success. It was a success.
Yay.
And it was fun.
That was my next one.
Good. And then the gala,
okay.
Obviously, is on this year is on March 2nd, and it's going to be at the Ritz-Carlton. Last year was called Sleek and Ultra Chic, and I don't know why I would change it because I kind of mixed P. Diddy in with the housewife Lisa Vanderpump. So I did white, white. It was I didn't want tables. I didn't, sometimes with the tables people don't really get to interact, so I did white leather sofas and the fashion show and comedians. And this year will be pretty much the same, and we have a list of people already looking to come, so it should be a pretty nice turnout.
Neat. And my invitation will be in the mail, I hope. It'll be personally
Absolutely.
If I don't get one. I would love that.
Come on, really?
I would absolutely love that. I am very big on attending any and all of that. I would be honored, actually.
We're looking to have an event in AC. Sorry.
Oh, no. Go ahead.
The date is not set, but we're looking to have an event hopefully in October. It's question on the 20th in AC. And I'm going to have it as more of a gypsy night at the Foundation Room at Showboat. So there are some
that I have to
events coming up.
October 20th. I'm sharing my own fundraiser, and actually it's October 20th. So that one I cannot attend, but I can do your gala in March. I can do that.
Priorities. I'm just kidding.
I'm sharing this one, so I have to be there. But I will be there if you ask me in March. I would definitely do that. I would love that.
Perfect.
I want to know, amidst all your philanthropy, being a mom, being a wife, do you find yourself supplied with just an ample support system?
I would say that that's a hard question to ask me. You've talked to me before. I am blessed with the people who are in my life. The support system is, there's John Hooks who always retweets, and he has his organization of the Wealthy Women Jet Setters. Judy there's people who have their own media outlets and reach out and support. They get me. They know they've either known Brody or they know what I'm doing. So in that way, and I don't know if I'm answering your question, the support group with everyone who knows about CAID and the family has been very uplifting, very supportive. But I laugh because people who know me know my philosophy. It's that I'm good. I don't need people. I enjoy people. I enjoy and appreciate. It's a very hard question that you're asking me.
Sorry.
Because of who I am.
That's what I do.
What?
That's the tough things. Or you can always think about it and get back to me. Obviously,
I'll think about it and get back to you. But I will tell you that the magnitude of support and people wanting to help the foundation and everything, and I think that's what you're targeting. I don't think you're talking about me personally. Is
correct.
Overwhelming. Is really something that warms my heart. And there is a level of, remember, I'm still a mom, and I remember telling somebody, they're like, listen, I'm not a business. I run and conduct it as a business, but I'm a mom of 2 sick children who has dedicated, dropped everything, literally almost everything, to help not only my children, but everybody else's. And I wouldn't change it for the world. I'd do it all over again. But so when somebody writes to me, or I get the letters from the parents or the children, or I've talked to the children or the doctors, NIH has called me. Cleveland Clinic wrote my parents. It warms my heart for people to see what Stop CAID now is doing, the board members that they want to help. I will tell you that we have a newsletter. We're starting the newsletter coming out next month. So anybody who wants to get a newsletter and be updated with Stop CAID now, to send an email to the address and be on the list, or Facebook me. And it will, we're having what I call community leaders. So from every disease we cover, I've picked one or two people, and then they'll be able to talk to Shelley Lashley, who's now going to help me with that, and we want to hear their voice too. Their voice is important. So we will be able to tell them what we're doing. She will tell them what we're doing. And also I want feedback from every disease that we cover of what their needs are. And that's where I'm at right now.
Okay. If I could ask you, if you had one wish for yourself and your children, what might it be?
I had one wish?
Just one. Inclusive of you and your children. I realize that your life is your organization, but just to keep it centralized to yourself and to your kids.
Well, it's what I do. See, hope and wish are two words I don't really use because they're not accurate.
Okay.
I do. I think that what I achieve and want for my children and for me is to continue to keep peace and happiness in our lives, to allow for them to be the best that they can be with no matter what is put in our past. To look, what I wish for everybody is that we wouldn't be so affected, that they would just find that inner peace and happiness and try to, and then people know this, it's never the situation that makes a difference. Doesn't matter if it's the disease, it's how you handle it. It's not easy. It's not easy. I'm strong, but I am the first to tell you that it is not easy. But it doesn't mean it's bad, because I really think at the end of the day, you're blessed. Of course. Some have different lives, and that's okay. But I would say wish, hope, no. But what I'm going to continue to achieve is their happiness and just that they live life knowing what true happiness is. And that's what I want for them.
Okay, Lisa, I have to say one more thing before I say what I'm going to say, which is I have to say again and repeat it to my live audience so that everyone hears this, and then when they archive listen, they can hear it, and when it goes on YouTube again, they can hear it again. As I usually say at the end of my interviews, there's three things I want to say about Lisa Dickinson. You have a tenacity for being strong and larger than life, for lack of a better term, big-hearted, warm, sentimental. You are a hero to more than hundreds and hundreds of people, to people you don't even speak to people that you never touch or ever contact. It's amazing to me. You're a symbol of strength and fortitude, and I couldn't possibly be more impressed with a guest. And I think you should know that. And I don't know that you get told that all the time. Again, I told you at the start of this, I'm very honored to have you on the show, and I still am. I wanted to cover here for your organization, www.stopcaidnow.org. I know that you're on Twitter, and your handle being @StopCAID You also have a Facebook page, which is called Stop Childhood Auto-Inflammatory Diseases. If you wish to connect with the lovely Lisa, she is, of course, on Facebook, Lisa Moreno Dickinson. And I also know that you have a linked profile as well. Am I missing anything?
Yeah, right. No, except that for the write-ups, if anybody wants to see the write-ups, is parentsociety.com. And we're also on Inspire, INSPIRE.com/Stop CAID Now, and that's for the families. It's almost, it's a way for them to connect and come together in a more private, secure area.
Wonderful. Now, that wasn't so bad, Lisa, and we finally got it pulled off, schedules and otherwise, and we started cooperating.
You're wonderful. Thank you. I so appreciate you having me on. I really do. And the only last thing.
Yes.
The only last thing, I mean, really, everything you said is. I just hope that you appreciate and or know how much I appreciate being on your show. And it's funny because, you know, when you were going to send the questions, I was so comfortable with who you are and appreciate who you are. And taking the time to interview me means a lot to not only me and the foundation, but to all the families out there. I know that this awareness means a lot to them. It gives them the what I call true hope that more people are becoming more educated. So thank you so much.
Oh, not a problem at all, actually. I look forward to having you again because, yes, you're getting another invitation to come back to my show closer to the time of your event in October, certainly during the gala, so that you can go ahead and, of course, get exposure out there for your events and so people can participate. And look for my email after the show because you'll be, if you were happy with the interview, you'll be much happier with my email when I get off of air. So I want to say thank you to Lisa, and I want to let her go and get back to her little ones. I will let you go, and I will be talking to you soon, Lisa Dickinson.
I just started waking up, so perfect timing.
Oh, goodness. You go take care of your son, and I will be talking to you soon. All right, dear. Take care.
All right. Thanks, Cindy. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
All right.
Oh, not a problem. Good night, Lisa. Okay, folks, that was my interview with Lisa. Again, go ahead and check her out, stopcaidnow.org. Just quickly wanted to say before I ended the episode this evening, please feel free to tune in tomorrow, 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. I'm interviewing Robin Levy, who's infamous for the two, first being the web series, which is Dining Out with the Manzos. If any of you watch The Real Housewives of New Jersey, you know that the Manzo boys are infamous for being on that show. In addition to which, she is also the editor-in-chief of Dining Out in New Jersey magazine. So 2 o'clock tomorrow. I appreciate you all listening, and I look forward to talking to you tomorrow. Have a good evening.
It's fall. The geese are headed south, and it's time for you to hit the woods. So button things up, find where they hide, and pattern the deer you seek. Come into Cabela's Great Outdoor Days and save over 20% on Herter's Select Grade handgun ammo. Save $180 after mail-in rebate on Walther PPS M2 pistols with instant savings of $80. And get a Vortex Diamondback 3.5 to 10 by 50 V-Plex rifle scope, just $149.99. Shop in-store and at Cabela's.com. It's fall. The geese are headed south, and it's time for you to hit the woods. So button things up, find where they hide, and pattern the deer you seek. Come into Cabela's Great Outdoor Days and save over 20% on Herter's Select Grade handgun ammo. Save $180 after mail-in rebate on Walther PPS M2 pistols with instant savings of $80. And get a Vortex Diamondback 3.5 to 10 by 50 V-Plex rifle scope, just $149.99. Shop in-store and at Cabela's.com.